All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is part one of the reproduction unit. If these boys only knew how complicated it actually got, they would be in for quite the surprise, but you guys are going to find out. Yay. We're going to break this video down into three parts. The pathway the sperm takes through the system, the functions of the seminal fluid and the components of them, and then finally hormone regulation. The good news is it's a lot more straightforward than the female hormone regulation system, so this should go pretty quick. All right, so let's look. I left a couple pictures on there on your note package, so you can kind of follow along. First of all, it's separated into three parts. It has the head here, which contains the nucleus, and inside there, as we know, our nucleus contains the chromosomes. So these are going to be the 23 chromosomes that are donated to the fetus by the male. It also contains at the very tip here the enzymes that are going to be breaking through the egg, and that's called the acrosome. So those are the enzymes that break down the egg. It also contains the midpiece. The midpiece is where the mitochondria are located, and mitochondria is used for energy. So in order to produce the ATP needed to get into, be able to move through the female reproductive system, it needs energy. And finally, obviously, we know the last part, the tail, it produces the whip-like movement in order to propel itself through the fluids. Okay, so you can pause that and get that down. Okay, so the pathway of the sperm, I'm going to keep the same picture on here, and it's going to break down step by step where the pathway of the sperm is going to be. So the sperm is made in the seminiferous tubules, so it's right in here, these guys. This is a cross section of the testes, ouch. And it is contained in the scrotum, which is all it is just the pouch that surrounds the testes. Okay? So you can write that part down, and I'm just going to keep the same picture, but you'll be writing different text. The sperm moves in the epididymis. So once it's been made in these seminiferous tubules, it moves into this part right here, which is the epididymis. And what it does there is it's stored, or it matures. So this is where it's matured, stored for a brief, for a little bit of time before it actually goes into the system. Next, it's going to go through the vas deferens, which is this tube right here. That tube is the basically just where the majority of the pathway takes place. So it leads from the testes to the rest of the organ. So the sperm, as you can see here, so here's the testes we were talking about, the epididymis, the vas deferens, and as you can see here, it passes the bladder. So this is not having anything to do yet with our reproductive system. It's going to pass three glands, and what they do is these three glands are going to be producing the fluid that the sperm flows in. Okay, these three ones are called the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and also the Cowper's gland, or there's another nasty name called the bulbourethral, but we can just call it the Cowper's gland. Okay, so let's look and see what each of those ones are going to do. So you can write those ones down there and pause it. Bulbourethral. And then finally, after it gets the seminal fluid added to it, it goes through the urethra, which, reminder, it's the common tube where the urine is also going to go through. So that's going to have some implications in a few minutes. Okay, so what are the functions of the seminal fluid? First of all, we have two seminal vesicles, and what they're going to be doing is making up 65 to 75% of the seminal fluid. It's an alkaline solution, so what that does is it neutralizes the acidic vaginal tract. If this alkaline solution wasn't there, the sperm entering the vagina would be broken down due to the acidity, or it just would be neutral. It just wouldn't work very well. The citrate, and what that does, it's actually a very complicated system called the Krebs cycle, and what it does is it uses this molecule and others to produce ATP. We'll look at the Krebs cycle just briefly next day just to see how complicated it is. Fructose, which we know is a simple sugar, it's used in glycolysis, which is also a very complicated cycle, which also creates ATP. So these two are basically lead to energy. Oops, if I can spell correctly. Okay, so energy. And then finally, it also contains prostaglandins, and what this does, I can't remember if I wrote it, so I did, it initiates smooth muscle contractions. So smooth muscle in the vagina, when the prostaglandins are released, it causes muscle contraction, so it helps to propel the sperm towards its intended target. As you can see, I'm minimally writing and maximally getting text written down from the computer for your viewing pleasure. All right, so next component, or the next gland that's going to be secreting the fluid, is the prostate gland. This makes up about 25 to 30% of the seminal fluid, and it's an alkaline solution, which again neutralizes the acidic vaginal tract. But it also provides zinc, and what zinc does is it stabilizes the DNA. So for males, that's why a zinc diet, making sure that it's staying regulated, is very important in terms of fertility. Because if the zinc's not there, the DNA can become denatured, or basically broken down, and then it won't be functional. Okay, so you pause that to get that down. And finally, we have two Cowper's glands, which we can also call the bulbourethral, but probably won't. It makes up just less than 1% of the seminal fluid, and the main reason why this one's here is it's a pre-ejaculate. So as soon as it's the male is starting to be stimulated, what it does is it releases this fluid and basically lubricates the urethra, and that allows also it neutralizes the urine in the urethra. Oh, I can't spell urethra. So it basically makes for a nice traveling medium. But so did the other fluids. But most importantly, it neutralizes the urine in the urethra. So again, if there is a high or a low pH fluid in there already, the sperm could be denatured and broken down. Okay, so it's a big neutralizing fluid. Okay. Okay, so hormone regulation. This is, I guess, the big ticket item for today. Wow, that's a lot. We'll just put it all up there right at the same time. So the hypothalamus, we haven't gotten into the nervous system, but what the hypothalamus does, it's a region of the brain that secretes, which means produces and releases, GnRH, and that stands for gonadotropin, so gonads, which is the reproductive parts, releasing hormone. So it's a hormone that tells the gonads something to release gonadotropin hormones. GnR stimulates the anterior pituitary. This is another part of the brain, right close to the hypothalamus, which is going to secrete these gonadotropic hormones. One is called the follicle stimulating hormone, or FHS, and the other one is luteinizing hormone, which is LH. Okay, we're going to go into a lot of detail on these in a second, but for now, just get them down. And if you look at what these two do, the FSH promotes the production of sperm in the seminiferous tubules, and then there's luteinizing hormone, which stimulates testosterone. And they're called interstitial cells where the testosterone is produced, but all you got to think about is they're just the cells that are in between the seminiferous tubules. Okay? So we're going to go into quite a lot of detail of those in class, but for now, just get them down. So it's hard to see maybe a little bit in the video, but this is a cross-section again of the testes. This is the seminiferal tubules cross-section, and then these little triangle ones that are in between are the interstitial cells, and that's where the testosterone is produced. So these are sperm producing cells, and these ones are testosterone producing cells. Okay? So you can get that down. Okay, finally, testosterone. What does it do? We know before it's a hormone. It's a specific hormone that's a lipid. It's made in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and it brings about and maintains secondary sex characteristics. So things like, for males obviously, deeper voice, body and facial hair, muscle development, and it also can create oil and sweat. So basically it makes us sound deep, have big arms, and make us hairy and stinky and sweaty. Okay, so you can pause those and get it down. Okay, so finally, I just wanted to just talk about the hormones again. This produces a feedback loop, and a feedback loop just means that when certain amounts of hormones are produced, when it gets to a certain amount, it doesn't want to keep producing it, so it relates back to the brain and tells it to shut off. So here is the hypothalamus, a part of the brain in the head. What it does is it produces GnRH. GnRH tells the anterior pituitary to produce LH and FSH. The LH is going to cause your interstitial cells to produce testosterone, and the FSH is going to tell your seminiferous tubules to produce sperm. But as you can see here, once it starts producing testosterone, it can actually lead to the negative feedback. So when that testosterone gets too high, what it does is it goes back to the hypothalamus and tells the hypothalamus to shut down. Okay, what do we need to know? Not to overwhelm you or anything, but basically everything that's on here. This is on your learning outcomes. Do you have to remember this right now? No, because the point of this is we're going to go into detail on this in class. Okay.